I'm going to talk about the specifics of Justice Thomas here and ask you this question. The sale of Thomas's mother's house and the adjacent lots without disclosure on that annual financial filing, would it be a violation of law if he were just on the circuit? Because in Section 5 of the U.S. Code, it reads, it shall be unlawful for any person to knowingly and willfully falsify any information that such person is required to report under Section 102. Fail to file or report any information that such person is required to report. Point is, if this were a Judge Thomas, this is perhaps a crime. Now, it is not clear this would apply to Justice Thomas. Is that your understanding?
That's exactly the point, Chuck. If this were another judge, if this were a member of Congress, and it happened that some Texas billionaire came in and said, I'm going to buy your mom's house and the house is nearby, and own this so she doesn't have to pay rent or a mortgage payment, you'd say to yourself, well, that's obvious. That's the sort of thing that needs to be disclosed. That's a clear indication of a conflict of interest. Is there a question that should be raised? So yes, there's no question in my mind that the Supreme Court has exempted itself from standards that apply to the executive and legislative branch and even to other judges.
So what could, I mean, look, we have a separation of powers issue, and we could talk about that, right? The Supreme Court would have to decide whether a law Congress passed to apply to the justices pass that test of separation of powers. That's a tough test to pass. What would legislation look like that would enforce an ethical code of conduct on justices?
Well, the code of conduct would look an awful lot like the code that applies to the rest of federal government and other judges, and basically would have disclosures, timely disclosures of transactions like this purchase of the justice's mother's home. It would also give standards for recusal, so that if there's going to be conflict before the court and a recusal, it be explained publicly, and investigations of questions that are raised. It is the same standard that's being used across the board. Code of conduct, ethics laws applied to the court. Why this Supreme Court, these 9 justices, believe they are exempt from the basic standards of disclosure, I cannot explain. And I think Chief Justice should appear before our committee and explain something or explain the changes that he's going to make.
Why not invite Justice Thomas?
I think I know what would happen to that invitation. It would be ignored. It is far better from my point of view to have the Chief Justice here. Listen, this is John Roberts' court. We are dealing with a situation where history will remember it as such. I was there when he went through his confirmation hearing. He is an articulate, well-schooled man when it comes to presenting his point of view. I'm sure he'll do well before the committee. But history is going to judge the Roberts Court by his decision as to reform, and I think this is an invitation on May 2nd for him to present it to the American people.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.